welcome to episode 16 of Let's Hear It. Today's guest is Scott Law. He currently lives in Portland, Oregon, and he's going to show us a Gibson ES-335. I think he says it's a 1958 with some modifications made in 1965. So 1958 was the first year that Gibson actually introduced the ES-335, and it is a, what do they call it, a semi-solid guitar. It looks like a hollow body guitar, but there's a block inside of it, so it's not fully hollow. Scott will tell us more about it. Scott's a great guitar player. He has numerous projects. He's also played with Phil Lesh and Bob Weir, David Grisman, the Terrapin Family Band, lots of people. And let's say hello to Scott Law. Hello, Scott.
Hey, how's it going, Gary?
Going great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for inviting me to come and do some guitar talk with you.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to have you on and excited to hear about this guitar and then hear you play it a little bit. So tell us when you got it, what you know about it, and why you love it.
Well, this guitar is relatively new to me. And it has a little bit of a story of it actually walked into my house twice, and the second time I was like, this thing, it's staying with me. So I got it, I guess, probably toward the end of last year, or maybe right in the beginning of this year, from an acquaintance here in town who I had purchased and gotten to know him through a Craigslist ad years ago. I'd purchased an amp from him, and we kind of just, we had a lot of friends, common friends in town, but we had never met before. So anyway, but the weird thing is that I had seen this guitar hanging on the wall. I got this, I've sort of got onto the 335 bus again in my life, and I'm sort of back. And I was looking for a 335 most of last year, trying to find one that was, just trying to find one that would do a non-Bigsby. And it was hanging in a guitar shop in town. There's a bunch. Portland has had, we have amazing guitar and instrument stores and a really sweet community that supports each other around that. And there's a place called Strum PDX, and this guitar was in there, and I was talking to the fella and playing on it, and I'm like, man, this is incredible. But the price that nobody knew how to price this thing because it's such a freak show. And and that's, you alluded to in the beginning. It's a little bit of 2 years basically. It's a hybrid, and anyway. The guitar was, I was a little like reticent on price, and honestly, he didn't really know. Nobody was really quite sure how to price it, because it has a lot of 58 about it, but it's also a lot of 65. Anyway, fast forward, that was last summer. Fast forward, end of last year, early this year. Turns out the guitar was on consignment from this guy that I know who was leaving the country and like moving, and he with his family, and he was like, look, man, you probably know and appreciate this thing more than most folks, so I wanted to see if I could make you a deal. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, I kind of wasn't really thinking about it anymore. And next thing you know, he's like, well, how about I just bring it over to your house for the weekend? And so he did, and then that was where I couldn't let it go. And to back up in that story originally is that the owner of Strum, he's just cool enough guy. Like, he let me take the guitar home for the weekend, like in the summertime. So I had already spent time with this instrument and thought, wow, it's great, but I just wasn't sure how to spend that money.
It's funny. I don't know if you know the answer to this, if this is true, but I read somewhere that the name, the 335, came from the original price of what the guitar was going to cost. So they were going to price it at $335, and that's why it's an ES-335. I find that hard to believe. Do you ever heard that?
I've heard that about the 175s. I mean, I've heard that about Gibson. I feel like I've heard that. There's a lot to sort out when it comes to the lore of old instruments, and especially Gibson, Martin, Fender companies. They didn't all keep super strict records. And so I'm not really sure. I can't speak to the veracity of that. But if it was 335 then, it's a hell of a lot more now.
You told me that you have some special pickups in there. What's going on with those?
Well, part of what happened with me is I experienced some Gibson pickups in a few guitars friends had and that I've had, and I just started kind of really realizing how much I should be focusing on not just the instrument but the pickups for myself. It's more than a set of tires to my thinking. And anyway, when I saw this guitar, I was like, oh, wow, okay, it's beautiful. Probably, I mean, there's a lot of reactions I had to it. But one of them was, I'm not set. Why not? What happened to the covers? These pickups are, now in 58, this guitar would have had what are known as patent applied for Gibson humbuckers in them. The original, which are highly lauded, highly sought after, highly dear. But the thing is the only thing that changed in the early 60s was they got the patent and they changed the sticker. So then instead of patent applied for, the sticker on the back of the pickup, if you take it out and flip it, says patent number, whatever the number is. It's a long number. Anyway, it didn't have the pickup covers, which to me was like, that's a minus in terms of the look of the instrument, my personal preference. But whatever. I plugged the thing in. And it was just like, I'm not putting covers on this thing. I don't want to change anything. I don't even want to move the pickups from where they are because they just absolutely sing. And they do something. They just do something. and that's what I was referring to. I mean, it's like, this is, I guess people, I was explaining this to a friend who's very familiar with the old PAFs, the sought after collectible ones. And he's like, man, they're the same, basically the same thing, up until 69, 68, 69, and that everything was inconsistent, not regimented. These things are organic. Guitars of this era, totally organically built, wound. And the pickups just, man, they're super responsive and really good range, like the spectrum, all the highs, all the lows.
All right, well, now we have to hear what it sounds like because that was a great intro to it. So
yeah,
give us something.
Okay. Some real ringy stuff on top, even with all this nice low press. And here's something in between, It just seems like it has a lot of potential. And it always makes me feel good when I hear it plugged in. And the flat wound strings are an interesting thing. knows if it'll stay that way. A lot of tones in this guitar.
Well, that does indeed sound great and very versatile. Um, for a minute there, I know, BB King played a 335, and when you first started off, or there was a little segment in there that I thought, wow, there's the BB sound. Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Played one. Alex Lifeson from Rush, Larry Carlton. A lot of people have played the ES-335. So what have you been up to, Scott? I know you have a weekly Facebook stream happening that people will post a link for that so people can check that out. What else have you been doing?
Well, this is a time, I guess, where there's a lot of things that I figured out I could do that I haven't been doing because I've been on the road so much. So I'm just trying to focus on finishing songs and instrumentals that I've been kind of, seeds of ideas, trying to bring them closer to completion, if not completion. Doing some recording, getting my audio, video engineering and production trip together so that I can do things like this and do the remote streams. And I'm trying to, do the things that, what do they call it? Content development. I'm doing a lot of that, and during this summer, I've been inviting a few friends. We're getting comfortable at least with being able to be in a space physically distanced in the yard where we can play and feel safe, and just kind of keep the fires burning a little bit. So that's kind of been my story.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's. I am not a professional musician, but I tour because I tour manage and I produce tours and I go out with bands that I work with a lot. So I'm always on the road. And I also understand like having this time at home has been incredible, at least for learning stuff and working on stuff that you never really had time to do. And that's been the one blessing, I think, for a lot of musicians. And, you know, I guess keep it going is what I'm saying. And thank you for showing us that guitar.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, we don't know what's around the corner, but I figure if I can stay focused on music, and it all goes towards the good. So, all right, thanks so much. Thanks, Gary.
There you go, a great sounding Gibson ES-335. Thank you, Scott Law. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and we'll have some more for you in a couple of days. Have some fun stuff coming up this week. Have a nice night.